Let us begin our service now with a prelude for ingathering. I invite you to use the chat box and let us know where you're Zooming from. And this morning, why not tell us what you see out your window? Scott's going to welcome us now with a piece from Chick Corea. Thank you, Scott. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our community worship with the UUs of Charlottesville. It's so good to see everyone in your little Zoom boxes this morning, old friends, new ones too. I'm Brett Gastinger. I am the worship weaver today, and I'm also a member of your board of trustees. I'm so glad to welcome all of you into this virtual sanctuary, and though it was built by Zoom, it is brought to life and made sacred by all of us being here together. Our physical sanctuary was built in 1950 on hilltop land acquired by the church after World War II. It's located near the campus of the University of Virginia, whose first buildings were constructed in the early 1800s by enslaved African Americans. And we are located on lands which for centuries have been the dwelling place of the Monacan people. We honor all of those who dwelt here before and those whose lives led to this moment of our gathering as a community of memory and hope. In our service today, Christine Gresser will be sharing your joys and sorrows, and Sharon Baiocco and Jean Umiker-Sebeok are joining Reverends Leah and Linda in a very special Earth Day service, rededicating our congregation to the commitment to be a green sanctuary. Behind the green curtain, Sean Scally, Kelly Dryden, and Carolyn Hines are running the show. And as always, we're grateful for the musical gifts of Scott DeVoe and the video artistry of Ellie Ransom. And rumor has it that it's Ellie's birthday today. Happy birthday. And now, let us join our hearts and minds in worship with these words from the Reverend Leslie Ahuva Fales. All that we have been separately and all that we will become together is stretched out before and behind us, like stars scattered across a canvas of sky. We stand at the precipice, arms locked together like tandem skydivers, working up the courage to jump. Come, let us worship together. We are going
Halbert family, and we are lighting this chalice this morning as a symbol of our UU faith. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together. We light this chalice to celebrate Unitarian Universalism. This is the church of the open mind. This is the church of the helping hands. This is the church of the loving heart. Our congregation's chalice has been lit, and it will have its own screen throughout the service. If you have your own chalice at home, please light it now.
Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the word. Sweet the rain's new fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness where God's feet pass. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light Eden saw play. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day.
Happy Earth Day Sunday, everyone. It's so good to be with you, and I am in your sanctuary today, and I'll be at the tours of the gardens this afternoon. I look forward to meeting some of you in person. Today, Reverend Leah and I are going to be wearing this special green sanctuary stole, which was a gift from Bayard Catron to celebrate your congregation's certification by the UUA as a green sanctuary. I've been excited to discover over my first months here with you that this congregation has a remarkable track record of caring about being good eco-stewards, working for environmental sustainability and justice. Here is a video that helped me learn about just a little bit of your history and how you became what the UU Association calls a green sanctuary and what you've done since. There's a lot more that could be told, but here's a summary. You'll hear the voice of Sharon Baiocco telling a bit of the really big story.
We started out with a group of about 6 people and began an environmental audit. And then we began planning worship and celebrations. We had 4 services, Earth Day services. We published green news twice a year. And we focused on having a vigil in the fall for the mountains and people of Appalachia. Here's Mel Hoover, Rose Eddington, the Reverends from Charleston, and me. We also had a service called The Story of Your Food on Mother's Day. Nancy Hurlbrink was the person who gave the service, led the worship. And then we had a Mother Earth brunch afterwards on Mother's Day, which was, we fed over 250 people that day, and Katie and Jean here were the co-chairs. We did celebrate now and then, the wearing of the green. And we did do religious education. We had a tree program this year and a month-long program on the stewards of the earth. last year. Here we have Worm Crusader and Rose Brown of Zero Garbage Challenge speaking at Mini Green Workshop and an Earth Friendly Friday. Jean Botts with the Children's Project of Quilt and I Love Mountains Quilt. But our big project for eco-justice was mountaintop removal coal mining. We traveled to West Virginia in June of 2010, about 12 of us. We attended church with the congregation of Charleston in West Virginia. And then we began to advocate against mountaintop removal. We began an eco-justice project, a local one, with our trees because we have such a wonderful variety of trees on our campus. Al Reynolds had cataloged them. We made a pamphlet. The children had already studied them, and we had pictures and we tours, and even I did give a sacred tree talk. Here is our sign created by Ron Wormser, and there was more advocacy. We continue to advocate. 350.org. Here we are in Richmond at one of the senator's offices, advocating against mountaintop removal with others. Here we are in D.C. This is Sally Kate and Katie up there in November, and protesting the pipeline going through the middle of America. Here, Glenn and Ruth Douglas and I are at a rally against mountaintop removal in D.C. This is our sustainability covenant, which we passed in June of 2010, but we're just getting around to taking out to all the councils and decision makers. And we've been working a long time on sustainability, particularly energy efficiency. And ethical eating was one of our major emphasis. This is a sheep farm we visited in Nelson County in spring of 2010. We also had these compost bins built. Charlotte Balkenbush led a tour of Bel Air Farm CSA in Albemarle County. We are a congregation that respects the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. In 2012, the UUA awarded us the Green Sanctuary Certificate. Since then, there have been 3 more major efforts to green our buildings when there was an infusion of money. First, that same spring, our solar rooftop was approved by the board based on a $25,000 stimulus fund grant from the federal government. You will see the before and after rooftop and solar array. Second, in December that same year, the U-House property we owned, which is across the street, was subdivided and sold, with the proceeds dedicated to making major renovations to Summit House and the sanctuary lower level. These improvements were prioritized by the Facilities Task Force using the guidance from the environmental audit as well as other expert opinions. The sale netted us $486,000. Improvements to the 146-year-old Summit House were primarily about structural integrity and mold remediation. The sanctuary lower hall was renovated also, including stabilization of the retaining walls, shown here, new bathrooms, lighting, ceiling, room partitions, HVAC, storage areas, and the installation of an elevator, which made us ADA compliant at last. That's a before picture, and this is an after picture of half of the lower level room, which is a children's area in one area and a nice large open meeting space, well lit in the other area. These were before and after pics. But wait, we weren't done yet. In September 2018, Glenn Short, a founding member of the Environmental Action Committee, died, leaving a large endowment trust to renovate the sanctuary with environmental awareness, which was his way of continuing his environmental action service. Glenn chose the renovation projects, and Dick Summer worked with contractors, along with Don Landis and Sally Taylor, to assure that improvements conform with Glenn's environmental mission, as well as beautifying and repairing the main sanctuary building, the foyer, the parlor, and upstairs classrooms. All the HVAC was upgraded to the best possible for a cost of $80,000. The original tile flooring had asbestos, and vinyl flooring replaced it in the sanctuary, the foyers, the comfort room, the landings, the classrooms, and the parlor at a cost of $20,000. Here are our beautiful new floors. A big-ass fan, that's the actual name of it, improved airflow in the sanctuary because now all heating comes from the ceiling, not the floor. Replacement front doors and windows have been ordered. As you can see, our windows in the sanctuary were single pane and had been a big-time energy loser, but the Neighborhood Historic Preservation Group would not allow us to install exterior storm windows, so interior storm windows were installed with double-pane windows in the comfort room. Glenn wanted light control, so also note the new powerful projector above was approved. Here you can see the front of the sanctuary. All of the painting, interior and exterior, utilized low VOC paint with less harmful fumes. Any place there was lead-based paint on the exterior gutters and window trim, lead remediation was required. These many improvements were the result of a team of UU members dedicated to transforming our buildings and grounds and willing to give their considerable gifts of time, talent, and money to accomplish the greening of our congregation. 3 of our stalwart environmentalists, Glenn Short, Mary Rose Curtis, and Katie Korish, pictured here with Johanna Woodchild, Sally Kate Park, and I, have since died, but they have left a beautiful legacy. In the process, we have all transformed ourselves into ministers for the earth and our congregation into a green sanctuary. Although it has taken over 15 years to complete our work, never underestimate what we can do when we work together. Good morning. I'm Sharon Baiocco. Today, our environmental group will resume following the example of the UU Ministry for Earth and recognize members of our congregation who have demonstrated leadership and service on behalf of the environment, either within the church or in the wider world. While the group is reorganizing as a result of the pandemic, we agreed that 2 members who have served the congregation over many long, devoted years should be honored this year. It is my very great pleasure to announce to you the recipients of our congregation's 2021 Eco Hero Awards, Walter Hoffman and Dick Summer. This would be a place where you would applaud. Our first Eco Hero says that the grounds are his church and where he finds peace. For the past 9 years, Walter Hoffman has watched over our grounds lovingly. For him, working in the garden is a spiritual activity and a way to contribute to our congregation. Walter was raised on a 20-acre farm in Madison County, and when he joined the church, he worked with Sally Kate Park, a member of the Green Sanctuary Task Force, to create a number of raised vegetable beds. He happily gives away the produce he grows to church members. About 5 years ago, Walter and Jim Souter dug and prepared the wildflower bed in Summit front yard and planted native plants. Recently, he became the chair of grounds, working with the gardens and grounds team on cleaning up our property. The neighbors have told him how grateful they are for the improved appearance of our campus. We honor Walter for his devotion to our congregation and our grounds, where he is a true minister for the earth. Walter, I wish he were here. I don't think he Zooms. But thank you so much for your service. You have made our church home more welcoming, more bountiful, and more green. We are proud to name you a UU Charlottesville Minister for Earth and Eco Hero 2021. Dick Summer. This year, we also recognize Dick Summer for his amazing commitment to serving the congregation and caring for our buildings with a watchful eye to make them more energy efficient, safe, and beautiful. And Dick has spent his lifetime as an environmental activist, first in California and more recently here. Dick and his wife Natalie became members of the Environmental Action Group in 2007, when Dick also became co-chair of Buildings and Grounds. He oversaw the congregation's first and second rounds of energy-saving improvements that the Green Sanctuary Task Force recommended in order for us to qualify for Green Sanctuary accreditation by the UUA. Dick was a trusted friend of Glenn Short, another founder of the Environmental Action Group. And when Glenn was dying, he helped Glenn create the Glenn R. Short Endowment Fund of over $287,000. During the last year, while the pandemic raged, as a trustee of the endowment fund, Dick worked with Sally Taylor and Don Landis and with the contractors to assure that Glenn's intentions of making our sanctuary greener were fulfilled. Well done, Dick. You are the definition of a good and faithful servant. We are happy to honor you today as a UU Charlottesville Minister for Earth and Eco Hero 2021. Again, this is where applause would occur. There is so much more to learn about both of our Eco Heroes at uucharlottesville.org. Go there to read more.
Hello, everyone. I am delighted to join you from our church's beautiful grounds. Today, we are celebrating Earth Day. Together now, let us bless our congregation's grounds and gardens as we rededicate ourselves to our green sanctuary ministry. I offer these words of dedication and blessing. We give thanks this day for the soil teeming with life, for gardening tools, seeds, and bulbs, for the hands and backs and willing bodies that work this land so that many may be fed in spirit by the beauty that grows here and also fed in body by the food grown here. We give thanks for the encouragement offered for others to grow gardens of their own. We give thanks for these gardens. May these gardens be blessed with rain and sunshine, that new life may spring up, and with the cycles of the seasons, may we witness the interconnection to the web that supports all life on this earth. May these gardens be blessed. Bless the workers of this garden, that they may enjoy community amongst themselves as well as the plants, and may they find spiritual sustenance in these connections. May the workers of this land be blessed. Bless us all, that we may be truly at one with the integrity of all creation. Strengthen us as inhabitants of your magnificent garden, our sacred earth, to speak up for it when it is being abused or misused, to stand firm in our conviction to be faithful contributors to the health of our common home. May we all be blessed. We give our most heartfelt thanks for these gardens and the blessings that we receive from these gardens. May we learn to love and care for our common home by caring for these gardens. May we grow closer to nature and to one another as we work in these gardens. May we work in these gardens together. And may our commitment stay strong and true to continue the work of creating and honoring sacred ground. May the gardens of UUCVille nourish this community and restore justice to all. We are thankful for these gardens. Amen, and blessed be.
magical. Thank you, Scott. As a longtime member of this congregation, I was so proud to see the awakening of our collective generosity during the pledge drive. And in particular, my heart was warmed by the way that the pledge team and staff approached giving as part of our spiritual practice and essential to building community. That building never stops, and I ask you now to awaken your spirit of generosity again as we consider our social action collection. This month, we are inviting everyone to make a gift to benefit the work of the Charlottesville Public Housing Association of Residents, known as FAR. FAR is a not-for-profit organization that is dedicated to advocacy for and with public housing residents. And we invite you and are grateful for the gifts you make to sustain the ministry of this congregation. We give thanks for all that you love, and we encourage you to be generous in putting your love into action with your gifts. May your donation, like your love, go out into the world. Please join me in dedicating the offering now, saying these words. We accept your gifts with gratitude. May we use them wisely and for the highest good.
Earth was given as a garden, cradle for humanity, tree of life and tree of knowledge, place for our discovery. Here was home for all your creatures, born of land and sky and sea, all created in your image, all to live in harmony. Show to us again the garden where all life flows fresh and free. Gently guide your sons and daughters into full maturity. Teach us how to trust each other, how to use for good our power, how to touch the earth with reverence, then once more will Eden flower. Bless the earth and all your children, one creation make us whole, interwoven, all connected, planet-wide and inmost soul. Holy Mother, life bestowing, bid our waste and war-fed seas, fill us all with grace o'erflowing. Teach us how to live in peace.
We have learned about this congregation's past and present in your commitment to being a green sanctuary this morning. And we've come now to this moment to consider, based on all the work that has been done, who are you now? And what could be your future? How could this congregation work to continue becoming sacred ground? Sharon Baiocco and Jean Umiker-Sebeok have some thoughts to share. Sharon, would you go first?
Yes. Hello, friends. This is the story of our congregation's eco-justice success. The natural world has always been my passion. Early on, as a student of poetry, I believed, like Wordsworth, that God is not separate from this world or humans, but some mysterious force rolling through nature, like the wind, animate and inanimate alike. I also believe that our purposes in life are to align ourselves with that force, to grow in spirit and in loving kindness, and to seek justice. That is why I accepted the challenge of launching an environmental action group at our congregation over 15 years ago. 3 years later, in 2009, the group became the Green Sanctuary Task Force and adopted our mission based on the UU 7th principle to transform our congregation into a beacon of environmental sustainability and justice. In order to become a Unitarian Universalist Association accredited Green Sanctuary, we were required to carry out 2 environmental justice projects. Because we live in Virginia, one of the largest coal producers in the nation at the time, with Dominion Energy headquartered in Richmond, and we live within sight of the Appalachian Mountains, we finally agreed upon a project to reduce and eliminate mountaintop removal coal mining, MTR. Locally, for over 90 years, Dominion Virginia Power provided our area with electricity produced at a coal-fired power plant on the James River at Bremo Bluff in Fluvanna County. It obtained that coal by destroying the mountains of our neighbors in Southwest Virginia, West Virginia, and Kentucky, a sacrifice zone whose resources were exploited by wealthier areas like our own. Our project, Go Tell It on the Mountain, took us to a Richmond Senate hearing, to an MTR site on Caford Mountain in West Virginia, to other churches to report on our project, to UVA, and to a shareholders meeting of Dominion Power in Charlottesville. The results of our hard work can finally be told. The Green Sanctuary Task Force took a major step in 2014 when our congregation voted to approve a public witness statement on divestment and climate change, and our congregation divested our $358,000 endowment fund from global fossil fuel companies and reinvested it in socially responsible funds. That same year, the original coal-fired plants at Bremo Bluff were converted to natural gas powered, and 5 years later, they closed completely. In the summer of 2019, Charlottesville City Council also voted to divest from holdings in companies that produce fossil fuels and weapons. I am thrilled to report that throughout the USA, coal power has declined to only 19% of total power production, with natural gas and renewables increasing to 60%. The decision for plants to switch from coal to natural gas was driven by stricter emission standards, low natural gas prices, and more efficient new natural gas turbine technology. But here is the important truth. Without grassroots support like ours, none of these actions would have occurred. When people unite behind victims, scientists, and policymakers, we become powerful drivers of change. In the process, we also transform ourselves. Our second justice project was supposed to be smaller and more local. We chose tree stewardship on our own church grounds. We offered a sermon, Our Sacred Trees, and tours of our grounds one Sunday, about 10 years ago, which we're going to replicate today after worship, beginning at 12:30. We dedicated our Green Sanctuary Arboretum with a sign behind the social hall, and you saw it in that video. Leading the Green Sanctuary Task Force was one of the most challenging tasks I have taken on in my life, and one of the most important. Our justice work is finally bearing fruit, but there's so much more to do. My personal journey began when I saw an inconvenient truth in 2005. But for years, I've worried that we were losing time to heal our planet. This spring, I changed my mind when I viewed Kiss the Ground, a Netflix documentary that shows how regenerative farming around the world can not only stall climate change, but reverse it. The Earth itself can sequester much more carbon than we currently produce, given the right care. Isn't that amazing? Deserts can return to verdant oases, and people can grow their food once again on the once arid ground. When we work together, we can bring heaven on earth, our UU mission, as Reverend Linda reminds us. Friends, hope for reversing climate change is real and on the horizon, but we have to make it work. To learn more, go to the UU Ministry for Earth website. Yes, we have a whole area of our national website, a portion to UU Ministry for Earth, uumfe.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. And now let's hear some words from Jean.
Good morning. By the end of World War II, there were 20 million victory gardens in American backyards, which produced around 8 million tons of food, more than 40% of all the fresh fruits and vegetables consumed in the country at the time. Most of the homes in my early childhood neighborhood on Long Island, New York, had such gardens. Today, we face another global challenge, climate change. With COVID, we are experiencing a taste of how our post-World War II food system holds up under a global threat. Not very well, it turns out. Food insecurity has tripled nationally, and our local area food insecurity was already double the national rate before COVID, especially among people of color. Heroic efforts by food banks have prevented large-scale hunger, but they are stressed to the breaking point. The lifeless soil produced by our current agricultural practices increases carbon in our atmosphere and leads to the desertification of precisely those areas in the US and abroad on which we depend for our food. What can we do about this? The documentary Kiss the Ground that Sharon mentioned explains how regenerative agriculture, which combines permaculture of plants in conjunction with natural animal husbandry and tree cultivation, could turn this dire situation around. Building upon the remarkable successes of our congregation's environmentalists, which have touched on all 4 pillars of decarbonization, which is astounding, we can expand our vegetable gardens using permaculture techniques and restart both rainwater collection and composting. The food produced in our new beds can provide vegetables for local food pantries, helping to fight food insecurity and inequity while increasing carbon sequestration in our soil. On the principle that give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, teach him how to fish and you could feed him for a lifetime, we can also provide opportunities for people within and beyond our congregation to learn how to begin regenerative victory gardens and tree plantings in their neighborhoods. We welcome your participation in these efforts of joyous regeneration. There are other ways you can play your part. I recently became a member of the Charlottesville Tree Commission and learned that the city's tree canopy is shrinking every year. There are 10 tree deserts, they're actually called tree deserts, in the city, which correspond roughly with low-income neighborhoods created by past redlining. The Charlottesville Tree Commission is working to increase the number of trees in these neighborhoods, and members of the public can help. The city has a tree fund you can contribute to, and volunteers can help with planting. The Charlottesville area tree stewards CATS for short, would also love to hear from you. If you have an acre or more of land, Charlottesville 350 would like to help you plant trees on your property, with you paying only 20% of the cost. Whatever form your participation takes, please contact us today to join in honoring the eco heroes who came before us by taking steps toward victory over food insecurity and injustice and healing our beloved earth. You can reach out to us at environment@uucharlottesville.org. Thank you.
And thank you, Sharon and Jean, for your inspiring thoughts. You know, it is so important for us to remember that our seventh principle tells us we are part of the interconnected web of life. Our sources include not just holy texts and teachings of the prophets, but also teachings of science and the wisdom of earth-based traditions, all of which remind us that living in harmony and with our planet Earth leads to fullness of body and soul. And abusing the natural resources, ignoring the well-being of any part of creation, is sure road to devastation and despair. I recently heard a powerful and impassioned address by Van Jones, a public thinker who's been working on the interlocking issues of racial, economic, and environmental justice for decades. The topic he was supposed to be talking about was evaluating the Biden first 100 days, but he said he wanted to talk about the 100 years that we are in this century. We're already more than a fifth into the most crucial 100 years in the history of the human species. In this century, we will determine what the fate of humanity is. Will we be able to live up to the highest ideals of our evolution, being intelligent, cooperative societies, treating one another with respect, and connecting the productivity of every human being, or not? The not is succumbing to feudalism and tribalism and tyrannical manipulation. Are we on the edge of a new becoming, a new enlightenment, with human civilization at peace with ourselves and the earth? Or are we at the tipping point, sliding into a new dark ages? Both forces are at work. What are we becoming? Not only will this be decided in this pivotal century, and the first 20 years have shown how vulnerable and teeter-tottering we really are, not only the nature of human society is in balance, but the actual identity of human beings. In this century, we'll find out, are human beings going to be a species that's more like locusts, creatures who swarm and eat up everything in their path and consume and devastate the entire planet so that the earth will just be a dried up husk flying around in space? Or will human beings turn out to be more like honeybees, creatures who live in community, who work together, who pollinate and bring beauty, who assist in the blossoming forth of life-giving plants and food, and make the earth fertile and habitable? This is the century that will tell us who we are. It's all in the balance right now, and no one knows the answer of which way we're going to tip. As Greta Thunberg and others have pointed out, the tipping point in the seesaw is probably 2030, although some worry we've already reached it. But by then, if we haven't begun to ease back on the warming of the Earth's atmosphere, it might be too late. As more and more species are becoming extinct or endangered, their time is coming soon. The new UUA Green Sanctuary vision tells us that we can work for a world that's sustainable and just. And all of us can work there to be changed for the better, to develop a culture that is characterized by bold, collaborative, urgent, effective action to not only mitigate the climate crisis, but to build resilience and adaptation and to secure climate justice. It's a tall order, but how blessed we all are to be alive in this century of decision, because we have the chance to make history. Like that diverse jury in Minneapolis this past week, we can look at the facts with our own eyes, and we can rise above the walls that have kept us in separate camps, and we can come to a common answer. We can find common ground when we see that this planet Earth is the common, the sacred ground for all of us, and that it is dying, and that we must speak truth and care for each other and come together to save this life, the life of this planet and the life of humanity. Even if we don't like each other, even if we're so different we can barely understand each other, we can see that the planet is suffocating, that the ice caps are melting, and that people are starving. And so we can resolve to love each other and to love creation and to love our Mother Earth. So let us today become sacred ground and share this sacred ground, this planet Earth, seeing and caring for the beauty which is here and all around us, and which we can ensure will be here for our grandchildren's grandchildren. Let that be our Earth Day resolution. Amen. Take a moment, and before we extinguish our chalices and go out to walk on the sacred ground around us, take a moment to breathe deep and to know we are life, and we are hope, and we are light. Let us become the keepers of the sacred ground. Ashe and amen.